Alright everyone, I want to show you the floors that I've already installed in this charger. This was the reason I have no video on me installing these floors. I was not shooting videos at the time when I was putting these floors in, and so that is why I have no video of these floors put in. I do have pictures on extrememopars.com, but these floors that I bought were not full floors, but they were full length floors for the driver's side and full length floors for the passenger side. This transmission tunnel here, I did not have to remove it. When I put the floors in, I didn't butt weld it to the transmission tunnel. I just simply overlapped it. And the full floors went to this, butted up to this firewall and went all the way back to this area here. This particular panel here, this footwell panel here, for the back, I made this. They were also wasted, and so instead of buying that, I wanted to make my own panels. And I believe these panels right here are about I checked them up a couple of days ago. They're about $130. I wanted to check the price on it before I did this video, and so they're about $130 a piece. But I decided to go ahead and make mine, and I put these little indentions here. I try to follow the same pattern that the floors had on it, and what I did is I had an oxyacetylene outfit, and I just simply heated this up prior to me installing them. Heated them up and took a little piece of metal, little rounded piece of metal, and just simply, after I heated this up to a red, I just simply laid the metal on it and just hit it with a hammer, just to give the floor more strength. You don't want to just put lay a flat piece of metal anywhere. You want to make sure that floors, by putting these in there, it just gives the floor a lot more integrity, more strength. Okay, and I simply overlapped it in this area here. This here is seam sealer that I laid over it where I had put the spot welds to spot weld this pan in. After that, I put this seam sealer on it, and I spent a lot of time on these floors when I was putting them in. I wanted to do it correctly, so I really took a real long time putting this in. Same goes with this. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, this is what they call metal to metal. It's like a body filler, but it's actually got metal in it. And so I sealed it to really keep it sealed up tight. I laid this over it. Then, of course, this is this Eastwood paint that I put on here after I got the floors installed. There's some seam sealer I put through there. This area back in here was in good condition, so I didn't have to mess with that, thank God. And the wheel welds the same way. I did have to do some work on them, on the outer wheel house, and some work on the inner wheel houses on them. These covers here, I made this one, and what it simply does is one of the wiring harnesses, the wire runs right through here, through this groove here, and then just this simply folds over that to protect that wiring harness, and the carpet will butt up right up over this. But I made one of these. You can buy these, but I wanted to make mine. And so that's what I did. It was totally gone. It was pretty wasted. is why I made that one. This is the front of the car, driver's side. This is undercoating that the company put on it. It's like feels like a tar type deal. That's real hard. Of course, it's gotten brittle and dried out throughout the years. I mean, this is a 68 Charger. You're talking maybe, what, 47 years ago. And on the passenger side, I took a fire to it and heated it up, made sure I didn't put too much heat to it to distort the metal, and then simply take like a chisel type deal and just scrape all that mess off. And it did stink. It does stink when you're doing that. But I've got to do it on this side as well. And this right here by the cowl here, this is not damaged. It's still solid, but there is a lot of pitting here where I guess leaves and stuff like that had laid on it. And I believe this is one of the drain holes here, and it was clogged up with leaves and things like that. Here's a shot of the firewall. Luckily I didn't have to replace none of that. It was still good. Let's see if I can get a shot of that. Is where the floor pan's butted up to that lip right there, and I simply welded it to that lip that goes all the way around that transmission tunnel there. And that was a job doing that. I wanted to make sure that I got it real tight and nothing loose on it, so I made sure that I held it I think I had a big screwdriver that I was holding it down as I was MIG welding it to make sure that it was real tight up against that lip there. But here's the inside of the engine bay here. This was the battery tray, and it was gone. It was wasted. But the inner fenders in here, this all up in here is still good. Little surface rust throughout here, but this fine. Everything's still solid. The metal's still solid and everything. There's the K member there. This side here is where I got all that undercoating off. Scraped all of that off. And it was a nasty job. I mean, it really smells horrible when you're taking that off. Still remember the smell of that. And it does not smell good. This side over here was like the other. It had that pitting there, but this is the, I wish I could remember the name of that. I think I threw that can away. I believe that it's like a body filler, and I think it's called metal to metal. But it's actually got metal flakes in it, and it's actually like some kind of metal, but that's after I applied it on there and sanded it down. But that's still solid and everything. All the metal was solid. Everything that I made sure that I kept on the car is still solid. It may have a little surface rust here and there, like this area. That's just surface rust. That's nothing. Of course, I'm going to take care of all that. But being up under in this garage here, let's see, I can't remember what I put on that. But there's a drain hole there that was full of leaves and things like that. But luckily, all of this in here, this cowl in here was still decent. I mean, it's still solid as a rock. I wouldn't say decent, it's still good. Everything's still good on there, still solid and everything. When I removed these floors, I removed one section at a time. I didn't take out the whole floors. But when I did, when I jacked this up, I jacked this car up, I made sure I have about 12 little small levels. I made sure everything was level. And I took this door off so I could get to it a lot easier. And what I did is I welded me a little metal bar from here over to here to keep it from flexing and to make sure that the car stayed exactly the way that I wanted it. And when I removed, this was the first side that I did, was this passenger side over here. And this footwell area back here in the back, I did the same thing. I replaced it like I did that other side over there. And I had to weld these little brackets back into place. You have to, this pan here, I had to drill these holes out in that. The holes didn't come already in it. So I had to make sure everything lined up, put the seat in, and made sure I took a lot of measurements on the old floor pan. And I had to MIG weld these, just tacked it back in here. I put a lot of weld on it, but I just tacked welded them back in there. The seat, the passenger seat, the bolt goes right through here, and the nut goes up under the underside of this to hold this front seat in. And as you can see, I put the seam sealer along here. Everywhere where you see this seam sealer is where I MIG welded it to the rails down there, the frame rails. I'll show you the underside of that, and I just went up to the firewall here. As you can see, I didn't have to remove none of this from the transmission tunnel. Luckily, the transmission tunnel was still good. But down in this area here, there was the metal had gotten real thin from the rust that was on these floors. So I made sure that I cut the thin metal out, and the solid metal that was real solid, I just simply overlapped it. Made a little flange there and overlapped it, set the pan right into that little flange, and then just simply welded it into there. But it came out pretty good. I don't know what you call these little pieces here, but that's where the wire runs through here to the back, and these just simply fold over. Like I said, they just simply fold over, and the carpet goes right up over this. I don't know what they call these little pieces here. Here's a shot of the roof up underneath it. These roof bows gave the roof a lot more strength also. And I applied that Eastwood paint on that to keep down the rust, hold down the rust. And I wanted to give you a shot of that. I took the front and back window out, and luckily I didn't break any of it, didn't crack it or anything, so that came out pretty well. Here is where I cut off the quarter panel, and I cut it as low as I could. It'll probably come up here, the new quarter panel. It folds over, but with this being good metal, I'm going to come up to about somewhere in here on it. You guys will find out when I start putting them on. But I'm going to keep this area in here since it's still solid. I'm going to go ahead and cut it along this area here. This wheel well was about like the other, where it comes up to this rocker panel here. This rocker panel here, it was pretty wasted down in this area here, so I had to make me a new piece. I made me a new piece and ran it down through there. And on the back side, you can see where I welded it. You can see where I welded it back there, and in this area here. But I still got to do some more work here. This right here, This is the spot welds that I had to drill out to get them out in order to get that trunk pan out, and that was a job. I don't know what it was about this side here, but it was a job getting that out. But when I put the new floor pan in, I'll be able to integrate that just fine in here. Even though that's missing a little bit of metal up in this area, the trunk pan will come up into this area about like where this one's at, and I'll be able to integrate that pretty good, those two pieces of metal in there. And here is a piece that I also made up in this area. I think it came to about up in this area here. These wheel houses here, they come in two pieces, the inner section and the outer section. I have never put in wheel houses before, but I've heard that it's a major job. I didn't want to, since these were still solid except certain parts, especially around the bottom, I just took that route and just made my own pieces. Instead of, I could have bought this outer piece or the inner piece, but I mean, why replace I wanted to keep as much as the metal as I could of the car. And since I'm having to replace so much of it, but the metal that I could keep, I wanted to keep on there. And so some of this down here at the bottom, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it runs in this, or it runs around through here over to that other side is the piece that I made and welded on there. Well, that's it, guys. That's all. The next video should be coming out maybe next week. Until then, my name is James Frampton. I hope you subscribe if you've enjoyed it. I'll have a lot more to come on this car. Until next time.